Welcome to John Essex Sports Channel, where we're going into Game Week 2 predictions of League One. Yeah, we're past Game Week 1, aren't we? And we're going for Port Vale versus Cardiff, which, of course, my team was involved in. Port Vale lost, of course, to Rotherham United 2-1. Rotherham ran riot in the first half. I thought they really did control it very, very well. And possibly should have been further up than 2-0. However, Port Vale in the second half must have had their arses whipped because they came out playing absolutely brilliant football. And look at the game. Look at the goal. The goal was about 5 or 6 one-touch passes. Bang, bang, bang. Cross the net. Bang in the back. The Rotherham players were just, where's the ball going? The one-touch football was brilliant, and I thought that Port Vale played brilliantly in that second half. Combined with the fact that Rotherham played poorly, I think the red card for Port Vale, Jaheim Headley on 32, an hour playing with 10 men. They actually did really well, considering they had 10 men for so long. And stayed in the game. Not only that, in the second half, they actually improved, and with they were actually an awful lot better than the Rotherham side in the second half, with one man less. So, well done for Port Vale. They got 53% possession, 18 shots, 4 on target, 1 in the net. The stats say it alone. They would have been going home feeling bitterly disappointed they didn't get at least a draw. They're playing a Cardiff City team, of course, that won 2-1 at home to Peterborough. Now, Cardiff City were well in the driving seat, weren't they? Did you see it? Port Vale coming back with that against the run of play penalty. Then Port Vale seemed to think, oh, we can attack more. We can actually do this. And for a while they did attack, and they did try and keep the ball a little bit more. And then gently towards half-time, they sort of lost control a little bit, and they began to try and play a little bit more defensive to try and keep the Cardiff City team out. Of course, it didn't work. Cardiff City came out in the second half playing as brilliantly as they did in the first half, and it became a 2-1 win to Cardiff. Perhaps even should have been more than 2-1 for me. And you have to look at this side. Colville up front, Colville and Capaccio. I think that this is going to be a season of scoring for Cardiff City. They should have got more. Will they get more against the Port Vale side? Let's see what you're all saying. 0-1. Of course, Cardiff are away from home. 0-1, 1-1, 1-1, 0-1, 1-2. Everybody either on a draw or an away win. I think that Port Vale, if they get this right, that side could upset the apple cart here. Port Vale, based on that second half, with no people sent off, could be absolutely stonking in this game. Port Vale could actually beat Cardiff if Cardiff think this is going to be an easy game. Absolutely. But on the other hand, Cardiff City, will they get too much respect from Port Vale, seeing as Port Vale were in League 2 last year and Cardiff City in the Championship? So this is a game that could go either way, and it could go badly wrong for one of the teams. I'm going to say it could be 2-1 either way here, but it could be as much as 3-0 either way, depending on whether one gives too much respect or one just turns up and plays out of their skin for 90 minutes. We know which one. So I'm going to go with 2-1. Which way am I going to go? I'm going to go Port Vale 1, Cardiff City 2. But Vale fans, based on that game against Rotherham, we could see as much as a 3-0 win for Port Vale. So this is going to be one of the ones I'm going to be really watching. It could go either way. So let's go to Peterborough versus Luton. Now this is a really important game because of the fact that we're talking Peterborough. Peterborough, of course, lost to Cardiff City, as we said. Very much open play football this. Now, it works in League One against League One sides. However, they came up against a Cardiff City team coming down from the Championship with just that little bit extra knowledge about playing open play. Championship is highly open play, giving people space, allowing teams to play in in a little bit of extra space than you do get in League One. And I think that's partially why Peterborough came up against the Cosh against Cardiff. But here they're playing a Luton Town side that also came down from the Championship. Very much about open play this game. This is going to be trying to play a Championship club at their own game. Not quite sure that will work. It may be. I may be wrong. I hope I am, because the Cardiff City game did show me that Peterborough could get back into games, even if it was totally against the run of play, and they could actually hold that for a certain amount of time, even if it was a short one. They're playing a Luton Town that obviously won their game on Friday 1-0, but wasn't that really late. They didn't even score the goal. It was an own goal. I think that Luton Town are finding the closed play, the really tight, high tackling, hard game a little bit difficult, and they didn't really expect it to be as hard as that. Will they be able to beat a Peterborough side? Well, actually, Peterborough now, if you think about it, are trying to play that open play football that Luton are really good at. This, I think, could be another one of those unfortunate games where Peterborough find it quite difficult. What are you saying? You're saying 0-1, 1-2, 0-1, 2-2 and 1-2. I'm going to go with a lot of you, and I'm going to again go with a 1-2, and I'm going to go Peterborough 1, Luton Town 2. Please do like and subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you in the next game, which is Reading versus Huddersfield. So let's go with Reading Huddersfield. Reading, of course, yeah, they lost their opening game away to Lincoln City 2-0. But I tell you what, they will be so bitterly disappointed. Look at these for stats: 66% possession for Reading, 9 shots against Lincoln City's 6. 3 shots on target against Lincoln City's 2. They lose 2-0. I tell you what, they only had 1 off target as well. So they were really, really accurate, really technically brilliant, but they just couldn't get it in the back of the net. They will be so annoyed, and the fans will be bitterly disappointed coming back from Lincoln City. They should have got at least a point there, shouldn't they? Surely. They're playing a Huddersfield Town side, though, that were well on top, weren't they, against at home against Leyton Orient. 3-0 winners. But were they? Let's just remind ourselves. Leyton Orient lost 3-0 against Huddersfield, but they had 56% possession. Not only that, both teams had 14 shots at target. Okay, Leyton Orient only had 3 of them on target, which I think is probably the way that I'm looking at this. Orient will probably, on the run of it, think that was a fair-ish result, but you know, from the rest of the stats, apart from the on-target stats, they were actually on top in every other area of the field, even on passes. 375 passes to Leyton Orient, 294 to Huddersfield. You know, Huddersfield didn't have this all their own way. But where they did have it their own way, they made sure they made absolutely the most of it. And of course, Alfie May, isn't he doing well? Alfie May there coming up with a goal on 55 minutes for the penalty and playing really, really well. So yeah, I'm absolutely positive news there for Huddersfield. They're getting goals from everywhere as well, not just from one person, which is really good. Against a Leyton Orient side, like I say, that really could have done better there. They're playing Reading, of course, and Reading were really bitterly unlucky against Lincoln City. I can see Reading doing well here at home if they can keep on if they can keep playing the same way as they did in that Lincoln game. Even though they lost it, surely at home they're going to be gaining those points and turning those that good play into points rather than into, you know, how on earth did we lose it. It's going to be a hard game. I think both of these teams really need a win, want to win. Huddersfield want to keep this momentum going. They are seen as one of the favourites to go up against a Reading side that are sort of outsiders for trying to get into that top 6. but I think that they're good outsiders to get in that top 6. What are you all saying from that? You're saying 2-1, 0-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-1. I can see both of these sides almost cancelling each other out because they're Huddersfield really good. They can score anywhere. They will score goals here. I'm absolutely confident about that. Reading at home, will they be as unlucky as they were away at Lincoln? I don't think so. I think that they too can score goals, and they will do at home with a crowd around them. I can see the way you're going, both ways and in the middle. I'm going to go with Reading 2, Huddersfield 2. I sit on the fence on that one. I think that that's probably going to be a goodish result for Reading fans. I think that if they get the goals and those that performance does turn up and gets them the goals, I think that they should be quite happy about that, especially against a side like Huddersfield, who, they did some really good transfer business, didn't they, during the summer. We then go to Wimbledon versus Lincoln. Now, obviously, Wimbledon, weren't they unlucky? They scored against Luton Town and they lost 1-0. He couldn't do much about it, could he? He had to head the ball. He really did. You can't blame anybody. It was just something that he had to do. Wimbledon lost, of course, against Luton Town, and realistically, they held out till the 85th minute, guys. I just have a problem with whether they're going to score. We see the fact that their defence can be good. However, Luton did actually get past that defence quite often. It's just that when they got to the byline, Wimbledon managed to take it off them at the critical moment. But for 85 minutes, so they're really capable of doing this and playing a really solid part of the bus job. And they're playing a Lincoln City that, by all accounts, were a lot lucky at home to Reading, winning 2-0. Will they get the benefit here? Will Lincoln feel themselves very lucky, or will they think this was just brilliant football and we deserve to win? Please do like and subscribe. Tell me down below, Lincoln fans. Tell me down below, Wimbledon fans, how gutted were you to lose that game, because you really were unlucky. Both of these teams are going to want to win for different reasons. Lincoln City will want to do what they did last season and start strong right at the top of the top half of the table, and they'll want to do it again, but this time they'll want to be keeping their pace up at the top. Wimbledon, on the other hand, a lot of your fans have been commenting on my videos saying, I don't see us going down. Actually, I think there are 4 teams worse than us. I think we'll finish mid-table. In order to do that, you're going to have to be able to score goals. I think that defence is brilliant, and if you can defend like that against Luton Town, I think you can defend like that against Lincoln City. However, they did have a strong side against them, Lincoln. That Reading side, like we said, 66% possession. Yeah, they managed to turn that around. So it's going to be a hard one to look at, because there are some positives for Wimbledon, but mainly defensive ones. What are you saying? It's Wimbledon at home, of course. 1-0, 1-1, 0-0, 0-0 and 0-1. I think that these two teams are going to be fighting a low-scoring game. If it is a win, I think it's going to be a 1-0 win. But I'm going to go for both of these, for Wimbledon to really be able to put their defensive foot on this game, and I'm going to go with Wimbledon 0, Lincoln City 0. And we'll move on to a really great game here, Barnsley versus Burton. So Barnsley won 3-1 against Plymouth away as well, and everybody expected, well, most people expected Plymouth to be doing really well here. They've lost a lot of their good players, but they've replaced them by some pretty good ones. So I've been getting comments from various Plymouth fans, some of which are thinking we're going to finish first. We've got some great players to replace the ones that have gone, and others that are thinking sort of 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, because we lost a lot of our really great players and we've sort of replaced them by good League One players. So we've got 2 batches of Plymouth fans here with totally opposed, well, what I think are opposing views, and Yeah, it's been interesting to listen to them. Really has. Please do comment down below, like and subscribe as always. Barnsley fans, 63 minutes red card for Jack Shepherd, and I think that would usually for me make the turning point of the game, but it didn't. In fact, if anything, it did more towards Barnsley. Barnsley seem to have done something really strange. Like this last season, they played poorly in the last 5-10 minutes and poorly in the first 5-10 minutes, and that's when they lost the game. Here, though, they seem to be the worst part of their game seemed to be right in the middle, somewhere in the middle. But realistically, they played really well. They had 47% of possession, Barnsley, and 12 shots on target, which is really good for that. They made the most of it. 7 of those on target, only 3 of them off target. You know, they were really playing well, and I enjoyed the one-touch football and I enjoyed the tactics. I think this was a game for the connoisseur, really. I enjoyed it. You know, I don't think Plymouth really deserved to lose 3-1. They played really well and came back in a couple of parts of that game. And Barnsley didn't seem to have a game plan to stop them, not immediately. So, you know, tactically, once or twice in that game, Plymouth took the upper hand, and that's, I think, what Burton would have to try and extol here. That those bits where they can sort of get their head in front and start playing the better football, and then suddenly, you know, come away with a win. However, I don't see that happening, because if we look at the Burton game, what do we see there? Burton 2, Mansfield 1. Burton actually did. We were following this one a fair bit on our live stream on Saturday, and Burton 39% possession, but 13 shots from that. 5 of them on target, 2 of them in the net. They've started to play some clinical football in the final third. If you imagine that, 5 shots, only 3 shots of their 13 were off target. Only 3. 10 of them were either on target or blocked. Majority blocked, actually. So they are capable of firing at goal and getting it on target, and they really did deserve that win. I think that 2-1 was probably about the right score for me. Burton, yeah, Charlie Webster there, 2 goals, 21 minutes and 50 minutes, making sure that Mansfield were always on the catch-up with Cargill scoring a late consolation on 76 for Mansfield. I think that this is actually going to be one of those games where Barnsley are going to have to be very careful. Don't underestimate this Burton side, because they can win this one, and they could cause a bit of an upset at Barnsley, and mainly because if Barnsley go out there thinking that it's going to be easy, that last game doesn't suggest to me that it will be all their own way. I think it will be for majority of it. Will Barnsley be able to turn the times they've got the ball into goals? That's my question. Question to you, please answer down below. Now, if they got 3 against Plymouth, I think that they're actually going to be quite capable of doing that. What do you say? 2-0 to Barnsley, 2-1, 2-1, 3-1, 2-0. Nobody's actually going with a draw or a Burton. Everybody's going with a Barnsley. I'm going to join in with you, and I'm going to choose a different scoreline. I'm actually going to go with Barnsley 3, Burton 0, and we'll move on to another brilliant game, Bolton versus Plymouth. Now, Bolton-Plymouth. Bolton were really unlucky, weren't they? Or were they? You see, this is the thing. Last season, they were really clinical up front. Once they played from the back, they go down the wings, and they cross it in, and they were getting some really good finishing touches. And clinically, technically, that last ball was usually really good, spot on most of the time. Now, they had 55% possession against Stockport County, losing 2-0, remember. They had 15 shots on target against Stockport's 5, and 2 on target for both teams. Now, 15 shots at target, 2 on target, 10 of them off target. Now that is important to me. Yes, you can push this Bolton side out apparently and make them fire from a little bit further out. But their clinical prowess from last season seems to be a little bit dented. What do you think, Bolton fans? What is the reason to this inability to get balls on target? Because if you don't get them on target, they ain't going in the onion net. This is worrying for me. They need to be able to get to convert more of those shots into shots on target. The conversion rate there is 7 or 8 to 1, which is not very good. So Bolton, capable of shooting, absolutely capable of scoring. I'm a little bit worried here. And teams who play from the back, they're always prone to losing the ball occasionally, and it's going to be at the back as you play from the back. And here Stockport made the most of it, winning 2-0. So Bolton, who are they playing? They're at home to Plymouth now. The Bolton Stadium is brilliant, isn't it? The sound and the noise that those Bolton fans will make will be phenomenal. But so will the Plymouth fans, and I think that you're going to get a really good, rather a noisy game here. I can see Bolton insisting. I mean, they'll have been given a really good rollicking when they got back in. Where are all the shots at the net? And I think that they will change it, and they will make sure that they do better at home. Will they do it immediately? I think they will do. I think that they're going to be playing a Plymouth side that is a bit jaded from this. They didn't expect to lose that first game, and everybody was telling them they were going to win convincingly. In the end, of course, they didn't, and they in fact lost it. Now, that game I think bodes quite interesting, because it's going to affect that Plymouth side. If you look at it, Plymouth won, Barnsley 3, and Barnsley had 10 men after 63 minutes. So they came back in really hard fashion, and they really did well, and that post really did get a good battering, didn't it? I think that Plymouth they've got the ability to really fire some really excellent quality shots in. And this is going to bode a really interesting game, because both of these teams need to win. Plymouth because they lost that game against Barnsley, and of course Bolton because they lost the game against Stockport. I think that we have to think that Bolton are probably, for me, they got the upper hand because they can lay off a good few shots. It's just that they need to get a little bit more clinical against a Plymouth side that can be clinical. It's just that they just didn't get the run of the green, I think. 2-0, 1-0, 2-2, 2-1 and 2-1. We do seem to be siding with the Bolton fans here, you guys out there. One person saying a 2-2 that I saw. I can see it being a 2-2, absolutely. Would I put money on a 2-2? It would. If Bolton win this one, what's it going to do for the enthusiasm in that Plymouth squad? What's it going to do for the manager there? I think this could be a really tough few weeks if they lose this one for Plymouth. We're gonna go with again one of those scores. I think that Plymouth, if they lose a goal, if they let a goal in early, this could be quite disastrous for this game, and I think that might be what happens. I think that Bolton are going to come back with a really big surge here. 2 or 3. Let's have a look. I think it's going to be Bolton 2, Plymouth 0. So let's go Exeter Blackpool. We will go with Exeter first. Exeter played a pretty poor 1-0 loss to Doncaster. I say poor because they just weren't in this game at all. 88 minutes it took for Doncaster with a penalty to win this one. Doncaster will have been thinking, why did we not win it 2 or 3? Because Exeter, with 35% possession, had 2 shots at target, none on goal, were basically 1 blocked and 1 off target. So they never looked anywhere in this game for me. And whilst the defence coped with Doncaster, and I think that's as much as I can say there. There was nothing up front. There was nothing in midfield. I couldn't see anything from this Exeter side that says we're staying up. Please do comment down below, Exeter fans. How are we going to change this? Can we change it? And how do we improve it? Blackpool, though. Blackpool, of course, lost as well. So we've got two teams that need to win this game. Certainly, if we get a winner and a loser, the loser is going to be on 0 points and languishing in the bottom section quite early on. Blackpool, of course, lost to Stevenage at home. Blackpool 2, Stevenage 3. But this was a brilliant game for the connoisseur, wasn't it? What a game this was! George Honeyman, brilliant player, and he showed his prowess. 6 minutes for Blackpool and Niall Ennis for Blackpool on 79. They really did do a good job here, and I think that they should be proud of the way they played. Blackpool looked dangerous. They always looked dangerous. They never didn't look dangerous. So I'm quite impressed by them. 66% possession, 8 shots, 2 on target, 2 in the net. The 2 on target, 2 in the net says everything to me, but 8 shots from 66%, you should be doing at least double that. They looked dangerous, but they didn't quite turn that possession into enough shots. So they always looked like they could, but didn't quite get there at the end. I think that they'll be able to against this Exeter side, because they don't. Certainly in that first game, they didn't look ever like getting into the final third. So Exeter versus Blackpool. What are you saying? 1-3, 3-3. That's interesting. 1-2, 0-2, 0-2. I think that someone might have it right there. I'm going to go and agree with one of you. I think that Blackpool are going to run riot here, but I think that Exeter, you may just have a lucky little goal because Blackpool are playing so far up, and I think the fact that they're going to be playing a little bit more advanced than what that Stevenage did against them, I think might just bode well for at least 1 goal for Exeter. I'm going to go Exeter 1, Blackpool 3. So next up is Orient versus Wigan, and Orient were, I think, what do you think, guys? Do you think Orient were really unlucky losing 3-0 against Huddersfield? Look, Huddersfield were very clinical, I agree, but Orient, 56% possession, 14 shots for both teams, 3 shots on target though for Orient and 8 shots on target for Huddersfield. But this is the key thing for me. Orient, 14 shots, 10 off target. This side could score. But quite often I'm listening to this game and all I get was he's leant back, he's gone in the air, and I'm thinking, you've got to be thinking about it before you let one go. Don't think about it in the other way. And it's just one of those things, isn't it? I think that Orient were actually quite unlucky to go away with such a big, the biggest loss of the of game week 1, 3-0, and I think that they'll be at home thinking, wiping the wounds and thinking, we can do better than that, and if we can get just 1 or 2 steps up from that away performance at Huddersfield, we can actually win it. And I think they can. But unfortunately, they're playing a Wigan side that won 3-1 at home to Northampton. And that side really did. It was as far as shots are concerned, Wigan were certainly on top. Northampton really haven't been a team for shooting. They've been more one for being able to keep the ball, but not really doing anything with it. And this is what we saw again here. Wigan 3, Northampton 1, 50% possession each. Yeah, 20 shots to Wigan, 8 to Northampton. 8 shots on target out of those 20 for Wigan and 6 off target. They actually did really well. They probably deserve this 3-1 win. I think Northampton's attacking force seems to be a little bit awry. 8 shots at target, but 4 of them on target and 1 in the net. That statistically is fine for a mid-table team. You know, I think that Northampton are looking at the minute like a jaded team somewhere in that bottom half. I think Wigan, for me, are just about showing enough class to be in the top half. But they're playing away at a side that were just bitterly unlucky. I can't see which way this is going to go. I really can't. What are you saying? I'll let you guide me. I think 0-2, 1-2, 2-2, 2-1, 1-1. Thank you, you lot. You've gone all sides of the coin. Orient, Wigan, this is going to be so hard. We've got an Orient side coming at home thinking, you know, we can't get too unlucky. Surely they can't get 2 games in a row where they're really bitterly unlucky. Surely they're going to do well. If they don't do well here, I think this is going to be one that it's going to be difficult mentally to get out of it. You know, 2 games in a row where you should have got something from it, but don't. You know, you can imagine it, can't you? A Wigan side again that is trying to just keep on this. You know, we've won 3-1. This is really good, but perhaps even they should have done more than that. You know, it was 3-0. It's 3-0 after 46 minutes. You know, they should have been further ahead. I can't see. I just wonder if they're going to try and get in the lead, Wigan, and then just park the bus against a side that just doesn't seem to be very lucky. I can't see it though. I'm going to have to sit on the fence. I'm going to have to agree with you, the guy that said 2-2. I'm going to go with Leyton Orient 2, Wigan 2. I really am going to sit on the fence. I'm sorry, but you comment down below what you think, because that to me is one of the hardest ones of this Saturday to predict. So we go for a little bit of a derby, Mansfield versus Doncaster. And if we look at Mansfield, 2-1 defeat to Burton, didn't ever seem to be in this game, really. They started coming back in the second half, and they really should have done something with this possession in the second half. 39% possession to Burton, 61 to Mansfield. Both teams had 13 shots. Of those 13, Burton had 5 on target, and Mansfield had 3. 13 shots for Mansfield, 6 off target. You know, even the ones on target didn't seem to be really great shots for me. Cargill played really well. The 1 goal for Mansfield. I think that it was always a tough task, though, getting that goal on 76 minutes. I think that it's going to be a hard game to see Mansfield winning this one, because Doncaster, although they only won 1-0, they really should have won by a lot more against Exeter. Doncaster Rovers, if you remember, 1-0 at home for a penalty on 88 minutes, but 65% possession, 14 shots, but only 3 on target. I think that these two sides could actually be 0-0. Because they don't seem to be able to get a good shot on target consistently. A little bit worried with the consistency of these two sides. Doncaster already having those 3 points, coming away to Mansfield, may even think that a point here would be really good. 4 points out of 2 games for them would indeed be trying to put them somewhere in that middle, which they'll be really, really happy about. What are you saying then? 1-1, 2-1, 1-0, 2-3 and 1-1. Yeah, I think that there's a certain gist going around here. I think it's either going to be 0-0 or 1-1. let's for the fans' sake think there's gonna be goals in it. I am Mansfield 1, Doncaster 1 again. Please give me your comments. This is actually going to be another one of those hard ones. That's two really difficult ones there in a row for me. Northampton then versus Bradford, and of course we've just mentioned Northampton. Northampton there were just they lost against Wigan, if you remember, 3-1, and 70th minute goal just to get them 3-1 defeat. They didn't really do anything for me. 50% possession, 8 shots at goal, but 4 of them were on target, which is pretty good for a side in sort of like the bottom half. I think that Wigan, though, they've shown that with 50% possession, 20 shots, 8 on target, that could be improved, but at the minute 8 shots and 3 in the goal is actually really good. I think that they're showing that they can be in that top half, even in the top 10, possibly even the top 6 based on that. That was a really good performance. In fact, they should have made that 3-1 into easily into 4 or 5. Will they do that away? Will they do that this week? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? I think that we went for a 2-2, didn't we, against Orient? But it's going to be interesting, that Wigan game away at Orient. Like I say, that's a difficult one for me to think because Orient played so well and didn't get anything from it. But Northampton, I think I'm worried about the goal scoring up front against a Bradford side. And where did Bradford come out? Bradford 2, Wycombe 1. We really thought Wycombe was going to win this one, didn't we? Surely Wycombe are going to. But people have been saying to me in the comments, please do comment down below, that Bradford have made some cracking signings, and they have. And you have to look at this. Bobby Poynton and Antoni Sirkovic goals for Bradford. They are actually doing really well. 6 minutes and 13, and then they seem to let's just shut up shop. We're 2-0 up. We can do this against this Wycombe side because they're a little bit poorer than they were last season, I think. Although we got an Udo goal for Wycombe on 68, which really set up a humdinger of a finish, didn't it? 31% possession to Bradford, 12 shots, 6 on target, 2 in the net. They'll be absolutely delighted about that. But they did allow Wycombe to come back. They did allow Wycombe 69% possession, but they reduced them to 11 shots and only 3 of those on target. So they really did well. And I tell you what, that Bradford defence for me is really good. But not only that, the striking partnership is also pretty good. So when we're talking about Northampton Bradford, I'm happy that Bradford have the upper hand here. I think that Bradford certainly have the ability to score. They can score, but they also got a really good defence. So Northampton here, they also can defend really well, but the scoring capabilities for me is a little bit of a worry. What are you saying? Remember, Northampton are at home, 2-1, 0-1, 1-2, 1-1 and 0-1. I'm going to go Northampton 0, Bradford 2, and we move on to my game, which is Stevenage versus Rotherham United. Obviously, Rotherham United started excellently against Port Vale. They won, of course, 2-1. That first half, they played absolutely spanking football. It was really good passing and really good football from everyone, which we haven't had for several seasons. Stevenage, Port Vale managed to come back on that though, and Port Vale managed to get a really good foothold, and it's just a little bit worrying that A, Rotherham collapsed in that second half, and B, Port Vale did completely opposite, kicked arse and managed to do well. Port Vale will have come out thinking, how on earth did we not get an equaliser there? So Rotherham, need to do better, I think is on their school report. Stevenage played a really exciting game of football. Blackpool 2, Stevenage 3. This team can score, but also they can be a little bit jaded at the back. They're still showing that last season's doubt over that back line. Just a little bit. Okay, Blackpool's got George Honeyman and Niall Ennis in attack. You can't really blame them for a lot of the for the goals, can you? So, what are we going to see? Stevenage versus Rotherham. Again, because this is my team, I'm going to leave this up to you. We're going 1-2, 2-0, 0-2, 1-0, 2-2. Great. Well, every side of the bloody coin. Thank you, you guys. Because of that, because everybody's all over the place, I'm going to have to go down the middle with the middle person there and go Stevenage 2, Rotherham 2. And we'll go to the last game, which is Wycombe versus Stockport County. Now, Wycombe Wanderers. We saw a really good first 90% of the season, didn't we? And then the depth of squad just seemed to come into play, and they sort of like fell off in the last few weeks. Wycombe, of course, losing at Bradford 2-1. That Wycombe side, to me, was it just got hit for 6 with those 2 goals, one on 6 minutes and one on 13, and it just seemed to take the wind out of them. Although they immediately came back, and I think that Bradford let them come back because 2-0 up, we can defend this. We have been able to do great defensive work in League 2, and they continue to do it in League 1. 69% possession to Wycombe, but 11 shots from that. They managed to keep them from even shooting, let alone at target. 3 shots on target for Wycombe, 1 in the net. You know, I think that for me, this was because of an excellent Bradford defence rather than a poor Wycombe attack. So we have to be very mindful of that. This Wycombe side can do some good shots, and they can be clinical in that final third. I'm absolutely certain that side has the capabilities. Whether they turn that into shots this time at home to Stockport, I would think they would be capable. Stockport, of course, won against Bolton. Stockport is a really good side, remember, and they did well last season, totally against what people thought. They went straight up there into the top 6 for quite a while. Stockport County, 45% possession at home. Ooh, that's a bit difficult. 5 shots, 2 on target, 2 in the net. Okay, 2 on target, 2 in the net. Excellent. However, with a home game against a really good knowing from the backside like Bolton, you would have hoped that they would be able to just keep the ball a little bit more, and then knowing Bolton, they'd take it off you at the last minute and then just play from the back and straight down the wings and score. Didn't happen. It was Stockport 2, Bolton 0. The shots for Stockport are the thing that disappointed me there. 2 shots on target in the entire game at home is pretty poor against a Wycombe side that, again, was held off, I think, by the Bradford City's good defence. We're going to go with whatever. I think we're going to go with a Wycombe win here. However, it's totally against what you're saying. Wycombe Stockport 0-2, 0-1, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. All of you thinking that Stockport are going to win this one. I'm going to go completely against you guys. And I'm going to go Wycombe 2, Stockport 1. Please do like and subscribe. Give me your comments down below, and I'll see you live on Saturday at 3.